Hi guys. So I'm gonna put this video out there. Again, this one is for my own protection, but it's also to let people know. It's also as a warning to just to American citizens to let them know what can happen if the wrong choices are made. So, but first, just so nobody gets the wrong idea, I wanted people to know. All right, I am absolutely a humanitarian. Okay, I want everyone in America and in the world to have what they need to survive, all right? Healthy food, clean water, safe shelter, quality health care, and so on. But the idea of having to go through the government in order to have access to those things is horrifying. All right, so let me begin. I made this video once already and I stuttered through the entire thing and I made some stupid errors. I don't even understand how I could have um possibly because I even started to panic a little bit just thinking about past experiences dealing with the government. So yeah, I had to write everything down, and I wrote this down quickly and briefly. This won't be the most eloquent video, so but it's just a reminder of what I wanted to say because I didn't want to make the entire thing over again. I knew I would leave something out. Anyway, as a targeted individual of what we nowadays call organized stalking, right? Of what used to be called Zersetzung, right? That's what we used to refer to the type of psychological warfare waged by the Stasi back in East Germany, right? It's also possible. It's also possibly a form of COINTELPRO or MK Ultra. So as a target of this, you know, I know for a fact that having to deal with the government, even for non-essential issues, is tiresome at the least. Right? At worst, it's maddening. It's now think about how it's going to be with essential issues if you have to deal with them for your health care or for your finances. You might not be targeted right now, but that doesn't mean you never will be. Anyway, whatever the program is that targets are put in, life becomes a living hell. You can't expect help from anyone, even people who could potentially help you. All right? You can't even expect help from people whose job it is to help you. No, you can't even expect them to do their job. And that includes government employees. If you have to go through the government for healthcare or finances, you're in a horrible position because they can control you. They can control everything about you. All right, they have you on your knees. What can you do if you're dependent on them? Right, even now before the microchip, and I know a lot of Christians, they think there's going to be a chip implant that will replace our IDs and our money, and something that can be shut off at any time. So obviously, if we piss off the wrong person in the government, there goes our identity, right? Then we can't buy or sell or even exist in society. And that might be coming. It might be. We might be, on our way to that right now. But the thing is, the people who are running this sick program that we call organized stalking, and whoever really is ruling the world, okay, whoever the rulers are, they can screw with you before that. They don't need a microchip implant to screw with your life. Okay, they can screw with your case file. Okay, they can screw with your info. you know um they can screw with anything, in the government. And even if you find, one decent person to help you, someone else might come in later and screw it up again. And good luck, if you're a targeted individual, good luck finding one person to help you. You know, some are already hate you because they've been lied to about you, and others are being paid just to screw with you. They're being told, hey, do this or be hostile to that person, or or don't help this person, or give this person, just lie, or something like that. So I had to deal with the government, unfortunately, for years, and it was it was a nightmare the entire time. Um, at one point in the middle of all of it, there was one guy there who did his job and looked into the issues that were taking place. All right, he looked into the info. he was able to clear up one issue. Okay? This was one issue, folks, one of many that would come later. And this one issue took hours to clear up. It was all day. And God bless him for doing it, because if he hadn't, who knows what would have become of me now. It was a serious issue. I'm not going to go into the whole story today. I'm at some point maybe I'll just read my documented account, of each time I went in, because I did document all of it, but not right now. This is just a brief summary. Okay, this is maybe less than 1% of what took place. Anyway, the worst part is that it never had to happen. I mean, the issue in question. If the woman I had seen months prior had done her job instead of refusing to let me speak and even shouting at me when I tried to explain, this could have been cleared up right away, and it would not have caused as much trouble as it ended up causing. Luckily, the guy I saw, the one who finally helped straighten out that issue, was there a few months prior and had heard the woman shouting me down as I tried desperately to begging her to let me explain what was going on. Here's the thing. You can't count on ever encountering that one decent human being who is willing to do the job that he or she is paid to do. Or at least not the job that he or she initially applied for. I think some people are probably being paid to screw with people, and that they'll do, right? If you're a target of organized stalking, most of the people you deal with will come up with excuses just to give you a hard time. Even if the solution is very simple, they're not going to help you. They're not going to solve it, even if they can within less than a minute. So, a brief summary of what happened. Okay, and again, I'm not going to explain the whole ordeal right now, though I might do so in another video. And this will probably make a lot more sense when I make the other video and go into more detail. It's going to be a long video, that one. And, I just want to summarize this now because I want people to hear this. And I know a lot of people are not going to sit for a 2-hour video. So what happened? I changed my name and I moved. That's what happened. You wouldn't think that would cause so much chaos. And yes, especially in a modern society where, it's not hard it shouldn't be hard to update a person's info. It is very hard to update info with the government. And here's a heads up for targets of organized stalking. Changing your name does not make it stop. Moving does not make it stop. Just so you know. All it did for me was complicate things even more, because then I had to deal with their complications created by government employees. I love this nation. I love the United States of America, but our government is corrupt. The government was not created to rule over us. It was created to serve us, right, for our benefit. We were not meant to be slaves to it, and right now I feel like a dog that has been run around in circles. Granted, this happened years ago. So, I had changed my name and I moved, and this complicated things with the government. When it comes to Obamacare, okay, yes, Obamacare did provide a lot of people with health care, and that part is good. The problem was that there were so many different organizations that had to work together along with the government for it to work, for it to work properly. And there was not communication between these organizations and the government. So it was just a chaotic mess. In fact, it was so complicated that not even the employees with the government knew how it worked. Not even the employees with the individual insurance companies who were linked to that knew how it worked. So occasionally I did end up speaking with someone nice who tried to help, but the problem was never resolved, even though at the end of each conversation they said, "Oh yeah, this should be fine now." It never was. So what happened? I had signed up for Obamacare before I changed my name. And after I changed my name legally, I tried to change it with the health insurance agency that I had chosen, and they wouldn't do it. I called numerous different numbers because there was no physical location to go to. And I couldn't do it online. There was no way to change personal info online. And so when I called these numbers, they gave me the runaround. They told me to call the state's office instead, and that would be the Department of Human Services. But the people at the state said that they don't deal with the issue there, that I would have to call the insurance company. And I'm not going to give the name of the insurance company that I chose. I'm just going to say the insurance company. Anyway, they said, no, you have to call them. And I said, but I did call them, and they told me to call you guys. And when I actually went into the state, they said the same office. They said the same thing, and I said, but they told me to come here and talk to you. Again, it was a complete runaround. So I ended up calling the insurance company back. And just to backtrack, by that point, there was another variable added. I moved. So then it wasn't just the name change, but also the address change. Right. So I called them again, and it took days to get someone to listen. For days, it was back and forth. The insurance company told me to call the state, and the state told me to call the insurance company. Finally, I got somebody at the insurance company who looked at my file and said that there's definitely a problem. She said they have my old name listed. Yeah, she said that they have my old name listed, and that there were two names, actually. They, at the insurance company, had my old name, but the state had my new name. She said she could see both. She could see info for both. Because I did change my name with the state, I changed my name legally with the Social Security Office, with the DMV, and also with the Department of Human Services. I did, at the state, have my correct name, but the insurance company did not. And she didn't understand why that was, because, again, people had been saying that it's the same thing, it's the same insurance number, and that if you change your info at state level, your info will change with the insurance company you're using. Right? Since through Obamacare, it's all connected, which is a friggin' mess. In fact, the people at the Department of Human Services, they said the same thing initially. That info that is changed by them would be updated throughout all of the departments working through them. But sadly, that's not what happened. And whatever problems from that point on I had with the insurance company, I was told I simply need to go to the insurance company, that there was nothing they could do at the state for me. Because to them, it was already changed, and they weren't going to even bother looking into it. And I can't count how many times I said, well, I'm here, can you call them and we can talk to them while I'm here? And they just refused. They would not. Right, so here, where am I? Again, I called the state, and again, they wouldn't do anything. They said that if I'm having problems with the insurance company, I need to call the insurance company directly. I even went to the state more than once, and they showed me on their computer the screen that had my correct information, my correct name. So no one knew why that didn't change with the insurance company that was working with them. One of their explanations was, well, it might take time for it to be updated in the other system, so I should give it time. And they kept saying that for years. They didn't even know how it worked. They didn't even know what to do, unless they were just told to mess with me, right? Right? No one understood. So finally, the woman at the insurance, finally, I spoke with the woman at the insurance company, and she said that she would try to change it herself. And she asked me to fax her my social security card and driver's license. And I think she might have asked for something else. I don't remember. I called her after I faxed what she wanted, just to make sure she got it. She said that she got the fax and would try to take care of it. Fast forward, a month later, it was not taken care of. They still had my wrong name. So back at the old apartment, they had been sending me mail with the wrong name on it, my old name. Sometimes they sent both my names. It was, so let me, how do I explain this? So my former name as head of household and my new name as a whole other person. I've got to go back and relook at the notes I took and the documentation. This timeline might be a little bit off, so forgive me. It's so complicated, and there were so many things and issues involved in it. If I'm a little bit off, I apologize. This will make a lot more sense when I make a more thorough video, and when I'm actually reading my old notes, my old documentation. Okay, so I kind of was flipping out, because this kind of thing could get a person in a lot of trouble. And if the government employees won't do the job, won't do their job and fix things like this, just imagine. This is their job. I can't force them to do it. Right, so it still wasn't changed. So I called back and spoke with her, and she said something like, Oh, well, sometimes the system doesn't update. Sometimes it takes a while to update, and so then she said I should wait another month and it should be fine. Well, months passed and it didn't change. In the end, just about everyone I spoke with at the insurance company said the same thing, and, and also at the state, that it might take a little longer for the changes to show up, and that if I changed it with the state, it should also change with them, with the insurance company, in a month or so. This went on for years, and the state would not help because to them it was already changed. They wouldn't call the insurance company. They said they're not going to deal with it. I have to deal with the insurance company directly. Right, fast forward. This is a long and complicated issue. It might not make a lot of sense here. It's okay. So, when I moved, I didn't originally plan on staying with my mother, and I didn't yet have a new permanent home address. So I had all of my mail sent to a UPS store. Okay, it was a type of P.O. box, but it had a real street address. At that time, I changed my address with the state in person, and they said that they had my updated information. Okay, my name and my address. Okay, but here's the thing. Once I realized that I was going to be living with my mother, I once again went back to the state and changed my address with the state. Okay? Until then, for a little while, the state had my correct name and address, and I was getting mail from the state at it wasn't really a P.O. box, it was a UPS with the real street address. So, um, until that point. Okay, but when I moved, it everything changed. Again, this is complicated, and I'm trying to get the timeline right. I'm not looking at my notes. When I go back and reread what happened, I'll give a more accurate timeline. So they said they changed it. They showed me the updated information in their computer. Yet they continued to send me mail to the last street address, the one at the UPS store. I only found this out because I still had the box for a little over a month. And when I think it was a little over a month, I don't remember. And when I went to get the mail, I noticed mail from the state, new mail. Okay, mail that was sent well after I changed the address to my physical current location. So close to 2 months after I had changed my address with the state to the address of the building where I lived, the state was still sending mail to the UPS address. So I went back to the state and told them that I'm still being sent mail to the last address, and that I would not be able to access that mailbox for much longer. They showed me on their computer that the system was updated and they had my correct home address. They didn't have any valid answers as to why my mail was still being sent to the old address. Although someone said, again, maybe they sent the mail out before I had updated it, before I had changed my address with them, but the mail sent out was new. So that didn't apply. And they had no answers, no valid answers anyway. Maybe they just didn't want to look into whatever the issue was, and they could have. They could have made some calls. They could have taken the time to do their job and find out what the hell is going on. Where is this mix-up taking place? At what level? Since I lost access to the old address shortly after, I have no clue how much more mail was sent there. And that's a whole other story. It gets so complicated, because when you're not getting mail from the state, at that point, there's renewal, there's tax information, there's a lot. There's a lot. Again, a whole other issue, and I'll explain that in another video. Okay, but as for the name change, when I moved here, the insurance company still didn't change my name. The address was changed with the insurance agency, with the insurance company, but not with the state. I don't know how. I don't know why. So at that point, I was getting mail sent to me with my old name at the new address, and the state wasn't sending me mail at all. And that was from the insurance company, but the state wasn't sending me mail at all. The state had my updated name, but not my updated address, apparently, except in their systems it showed my updated address, so I don't know. Sadly, with Obamacare, you get mail from both the state and the insurance company you choose. And if they don't work together, if they don't communicate, and if when they see that there's an issue, they refuse to look into it, this is going to be a mess. And again, I'm not sure. I have to, I'm making this video at the spur of the moment. I have to go and relook at the timeline because something is a bit off. But anyway, so I went back to the state and they didn't believe me, or they didn't take it seriously. So eventually I ended up printing out the main page from my online profile with the insurance company. Okay, and again, it's a governmental profile, but for the insurance company. I went back to the state and showed them that the wrong name was listed. Since they had my correct name in their system, which they again showed me, they didn't understand what went wrong. The woman I saw repeated what so many others had said by that point. If it's changed with the state, it will be changed with the insurance company and whatever other agencies are working through them. Keep in mind, this happened at the very end now of this meeting with the woman. Okay, this was the last dealing I had in person with the people at the Department of Human Services. The woman was nice, but she didn't know what to do. She said that maybe I should wait a few more weeks or a month. I don't remember what she said exactly. And that it might take a little longer for the changes to show up in the system. I told her again, that's what they've been saying for years. I can't do this anymore. But by that point, they had been saying this to me for years. I then asked her if I could see a supervisor. She hesitated. It was like she didn't want me to see the supervisor, and later I found out why. She wasn't trying to be mean or cause me trouble. I think she was trying to protect me. But in the end, it just got so complicated, and she didn't know what to do, that she called him over. Then I understood why she didn't want to call him initially. I'm going to assume other people had issues with him as well. He was the same guy I saw when I first walked into the office of the building. He was the one who asked me why I was there and stopped me as I tried to explain to him what was taking place. He said, look, there are only a few reasons people need to be here. For health care, for food stamps, or I forget the third reason, which is it? And I said, well, it's health care, but it's complicated. He said, well, it can't be that complicated. And I said, fine, it's health care. Okay. So then he told me to go and wait to see someone. Very rude. I didn't want to see him again, yet there he was, once again, standing in front of me with a stern, impatient look on his face. I asked him if he was the supervisor, and he mumbled something inaudible. So at this point, I'm not even sure if he was. Maybe they didn't even send me to the real supervisor. I don't know. And so, as I tried to explain to him what was happening, he continued to cut me off. He wouldn't let me speak. He wouldn't let me finish. He wouldn't let me explain. This is a complicated issue and takes a while to explain, but he was very impatient, not to mention cold and even kind of hostile. Then I just took out the paper I had printed out and showed him that my information was inaccurate, that with the insurance company, that they still have the wrong name. He was shocked. There was a look of shock and awe on his face. Like, until then, he didn't believe anything I was saying, I guess. I don't know. He then said, well, how long ago was this from? And I said, it's recently. And I don't know if I printed it out the same day or the day before. I forget. But I said, yeah, this is just recent. He took a second to look at the paper and then at the computer in the office. Sure enough, my name was correct in the computer at the state's office, but not in the records from the insurance company that I had just printed out. I felt a brief moment of relief that now he sees the problem. Now he finally believes me and he's going to take it seriously. Never assume. Never assume. I asked him if we could call them together while I was there in the office, since going back and forth on the phone never seems to work. And because they just keep telling me to call the state. He refused. At that point, I had enough. I was exhausted and couldn't do this for another day. After a while of him being cold and hostile, finally I just said, you know what, just cancel everything. Cancel my insurance. Then in a cold tone, he said, fine, and he walked away. And so I canceled Obamacare. I recently got health insurance again because of my health issues, the high blood pressure, which, it was probably causing issues, and the weird, the rapid heartbeat and the weird palpitations. Luckily, this time I didn't have to deal with the state directly. I dealt with someone at my doctor's office who helps people get Obamacare. And of course, I signed up with a different insurance company that doesn't have my old information. So hopefully, hopefully the state won't screw it up. Because so here's what's happening now. The insurance company I'm using now, a different company, they have my correct information, my correct name and address, and I've been getting mail here, from them. But when the state sent me the renewal form, yes, unfortunately, I still have to deal with the government, and this is what we don't want. They had my correct name, but I'm not sure they thought it was me. I don't quite know. They worded it in a way that they weren't quite sure that it was me, or was I one person? I don't know. So I included on the form, I am this person. Are you applying for this person? No, I am this person. I'm the one who is trying to renew for myself. I'm not speaking for anyone else. That's what I said. This is me. All I can do is hope that they have the information correct. This is a nightmare. I can only hope that I won't have to go through this time what I did the last time. I can't keep doing it. It's exhausting. And remember, this is only 1% of what actually happened. It's only 1%. Right? What do you do when the government controls everything, but they have the wrong info on you and they refuse to update it? Or the employees say that they'll update it, but they never do. And they just keep giving you the runaround. Okay, when they control everything, you're screwed. Right. So also now, let me see. Right, okay. So this gets worse, right? Because now we have even more governmental control over our lives. So here's the issue. When I had the full-time job and I worked, that was before I changed my name and moved. And the last time I dealt with the IRS was when I sent the last payment for my taxes. Okay? And that was years ago. The last job I had was as an independent contractor. The job before that, I was an actual employee, so everything was done through my employer. So for the last real job I had, and I say real job because I do odd jobs now and then, I don't earn enough to qualify for paying taxes right now for the last few years. But for the last real job I had, um, I ended up having to make payments, and I made the last payment, which was the last time I dealt with the IRS, right? So the last time I dealt with the IRS was the last time that I was making my last payment on the taxes that I owed, so that's done now. I don't owe them anything else. It's paid off. Okay, but see, that was before I changed my name and before I moved. So I haven't dealt with the IRS since. And even though I changed my name with Social Security and with the DMV, I don't know if the IRS has that information. Do they still have my old name? Do they still have my old address, right? And I'm dreading dealing with them. And even though I've never had issues with them, again, when you're a target of organized stalking, you cannot expect help from anyone ever. Even government employees whose job it is to help you with, with difficult situations. Right? Even if it'll take them a minute to clear something up, they're not going to do it. All right? They're going to screw you up. They're going to screw with you royally again and again and again. That's what you can expect, and I'm afraid that's what's going to happen. Especially now with the IRS sending checks out to everyone. And what do people do if they've had their identity stolen? There are complicated issues that people need to deal with the IRS. With the IRS, if you can't get a hold of them, what the hell are you supposed to do, right? Right now, they're impossible to get a hold of. And you've really got to be careful about this, right? With everything that's going on as a target of organized stalking, my mother had her identity stolen, and while I'm not sure, I don't believe that's happened to me. But when I was trying to sign up for Obamacare the second time, the woman asked me, she said, "Have you ever lived at this location, or have you ever had this number?" And the answer was no, I haven't. One number was the 212 area code, and I believe, what was that, New York or something? I've never lived there. She didn't explain to me why she asked. I said, is that written down as my info? And she wouldn't tell me anything. So I don't know. Right now I have to worry. I have to make sure that the IRS has my actual information. They know, I need to make sure they know who I am. They have my address. They have my real name. Right. And of course, am I listed as one person with them and not two, as I had been with the Department of Human Services, that's the nightmare of all nightmares, right? What don't they understand about name change, right? I am one person, not two people. This is frightening. Now that they're sending out checks to people, this can be bad, very bad. I tried calling the IRS but couldn't get through to speak with anyone, and none of the automated categories applied to my situation. And so they do have a physical location where you can call if you need to meet someone in person, but that's closed, obviously. They're not open now because of the virus. So last week I called an organization that I deal with sometimes. They have lawyers there. They have a team of lawyers. I spoke with someone who said he would set me up with a phone conference with one of the lawyers there, and that they would call me on that day it would be a phone appointment. So today was the day of the call. Now I have two numbers, two personal numbers listed with them, and the guy said they would call me on my cell phone. Well, they called me on my home phone and on the home phone instead, the one that I share with my mom. The home phone, unfortunately, is a crappy little $15 phone without caller ID. So I'm hoping that the person I spoke with was really from the law group and that no one interfered. The guy I spoke with just gave me two different numbers to call. One was a legal organization and the other was a place for tax help. The thing is, I assumed that the people I was supposed to be speaking with today were the lawyers. I mean, I thought they were going to help. I thought that's what today's call was about. Anyway, I don't know. This is why I wonder if maybe somehow the organized stalkers interfered again. Maybe this person wasn't even from the legal team. I don't know. Anyway, I ended up calling both businesses and left a message for each on the answering machine, because of course they weren't there, briefly explaining what is going on. And hopefully those messages will get through to someone who can help me. I doubt it, though, because someone will always interfere and try to screw it up, especially things that are of extreme legal importance. Remember, they're trying to do us in, and they will however they can. Okay, as for the IRS, I don't expect a payment from, a stimulus payment, right? Because right now I'm a live-in caregiver for my mom, which isn't a paying job. And I will sometimes, help other people on the side and be a caregiver or do these odd jobs, but that, I don't earn enough to qualify for taxes. And from what I looked up online, after, unless you earn a certain amount, you don't file, right? So, right, I don't expect a stimulus check, but in the past things have been hard, and then they get better for a little while, and then they get hard again, and then they get better for a little while. So it's on and off, it's back and forth. It's just every time that pendulum swings back, it gets worse. So anyway, so I don't expect the stimulus check. I just want to make sure that my information is accurate, right? That they have my correct information. I just want to know how to change it with them if it isn't accurate. And unfortunately, when you call them again, you can't get through to anybody. It's automated. And the one line, live line they have is closed. When you're a target of organized stalking, you need to be able to go in and speak with people, and even that tends to be completely worthless. All right, because whoever you speak to, they won't actually help you, even if they can. And even if you do get that one decent person who will help you, someone will come later and screw it up or change your information back. That's what happens. No, I've barely touched the surface here. There's a reason I don't want the government involved in our medical affairs or in our financial affairs. Even though I do want people to have health care, of course I do. Of course I want everybody to have health care and everything they need to survive, and be healthy and happy. But I don't want the government to be in charge of that. And some people will say, oh, well, the government won't be in charge of that. It's not like the government will be, whatever. But here's the thing. We still have to go through the government in order to deal with the healthcare situation and, the financial situation if if people are going to be getting checks. right?